Unstable. Well, get it more stable, YouTube. I live in the hills, so figure it out. Oh, goodness gracious. I'm going to wait around here for a little bit. Forgot to fix my bed. Gonna wait around here a minute, see if anybody shows up. Uh, yeah, it would appear I have a little bit of a shaky connection. See if anyone's going to get in on the chat. And then I'll get into my talk on herbalism and things of that nature. Herbalism, home remedies. That's kind of that's kind of a thing with me. It kind of always has been, really. I don't do a lot of instruction on it, though. I'm going to recommend a book, and I'm not going to get up and get it, but I'm looking at it right now. The Herb Book by John Lust. A very, very recommended book for information. It is not a good book for identifying herbs, because at least my copy of the book, which I think is from the 80s or 90s, my copy, at least, of the herb book doesn't have colored photographs for identification. At best, you're going to get a hand drawn picture, but it is a good book in regards to, okay, well, I need to figure out what this herb is, what that herb is, et cetera, et cetera. I recently, and I'm gonna have to look at it. I recently came across a YouTuber by the channel name is Sophia the Herbalist, or Herbalist, I think is how she pronounced it. She, I believe, is British, which might just be showing my ignorance, because I know there are several accents that are very similar to that. But I do believe that she is from the UK, and her channel, I've watched a couple of videos, and she is, to my knowledge, a professional herbalist. And so she seems to be very, very knowledgeable on the subject, as a professional herbalist you would expect them to be. But oh, excuse me, my eye is killing me. Gonna have to do something about that. It's just pressure in the back of my head. So I'm probably going to use one of my herbal remedies for getting rid of that. Water. Yes, this is water. Actually, I probably do really need to be drinking more water right now, because that'll help with your head as well. we have been avoiding the Rona um, by taking a couple of different vitamin supplements and washing it down with a little bit of tonic water for the quinine. This is not medical advice. Um, the We got it from Dr. Nakude. Um, I don't really follow him necessarily, but there are my group that do, and and so far none of us have, to our knowledge, caught the virus. Although I very possibly um, have it now, have the virus right now. A guy that I work with most likely has it. A series of, but I'm not entirely worried. The deaths this year, or this 2020, are the same amount globally. There have been the same amount of deaths. I mean, give or take, but roughly the same amount of deaths this year, or well, this past year, as clear down to 2015. They've been pretty well steady. Um, what changed this year is heart disease is down, cancer death is down, the flu. Like, who has the flu? Never heard of anybody with the flu. Um, okay, got a notification. Yeah, yeah. I don't know of anyone that has had the flu this year. Explain that. Um, Now, all that being said, who in their right mind would go and get this vaccine if they are informed? Why would you go get the vaccine? I'm not. I'm not taking it. For one, the AstraZeneca vaccine was actually developed using cells from an aborted fetus, so aborted fetal tissue. So there's that tie to abortion. So, and if you are anti-abortion and you are somehow rationalizing the use of the tissue in medical practices, you're basically trying to say, well, it's okay because we used it for medical purposes. Like, I'm not passing a judgment on you, but I would really think about what you believe in that regard. If you are anti-abortion, and if you aren't, then that is a discussion that we can have at some point. But the AstraZeneca one was developed using uh, aborted fetal stem cells, and the Pfizer and Moderna vaccine were tested using aborted fetal cells. So the three big ones, there was three, yeah, three. The three big ones have ties to abortion, so I'm not taking it for that simple reason alone. Much less the effects that it has been having on people. They're not really wanting to talk about it, but there have been a lot of deaths that happen suspiciously close to the vaccine. And I'm not going to get a shot for something that has as low of a fatality rate as this does. It's less than the flu. Like, especially less when you count other factors. Like a lot of these deaths of coronavirus were cancer patients and people that had, elderly patients that had asthma and the people that had underlying medical conditions. Um, I'm not taking a vaccine for something like that. I'm not. I don't care if it's tested or not. I'm not. I'm just going to let myself get it and develop the immunity to it. Let's not talk about the conspiracy rabbit hole. As did China make this? Did China not make this? Was it let loose on purpose? Was it an accident? Like that's not a route I want to get into. But why am I talking about this? Because herbalism is going to become very important, I fear, in the coming months and years as we tread down this road of tyranny. Um, it will come a time. Right now, they're doing it with fun stuff. The vaccine. Well, you can't go to a theater unless you've got vaccination papers. Well, you can't go to this concert unless you have your vaccination papers and a clean bill of health from the tests. Uh, you get where I'm going. Now, there's been, I believe, United Airlines. Don't quote me on that, but at least one of the major airline companies has said that they are going to make it mandatory for people to fly their plane that you have a vaccine, that you have been vaccinated against COVID-19. The virus so deadly that you have to get a test to know that you have it. And the test itself is not accurate and sends false positives. We know that this is happening, but that's neither here nor there. Um, so, where was I? So, yeah, we can't be putting up with that crap. I need to. All right. Had a notification and it was bugging me that it was on the screen. Okay. Now another one. I get rid of one and I get another. Guns coast to coast. But anyway, where was I? Your airline companies, like one of them at least, is talking about making it mandatory. And if one does it, they're all going to do it. So you're not going to be able to get on a plane. And it'll come a time, I fear. I don't really fear, but I believe there will come a time where you can't get in to see your doctor without a vaccine. There will come a time that will be a thing. That if you go to see the doctor for your foot hurting, first thing he's going to have to do is say, well, have you had a COVID vaccination? If you say no, he looks at your medical chart, says, no, you didn't. Okay, well, we're going to have to give you a vaccine before I can see you. I believe there's going to come a time that is the case. And I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong. I really do. Like, I don't want to be right on these things. Like, I don't. I just want to live out here back in the holler and feed my chickens and build fence and get other critters and just be left alone. That's all I want. But I do think that that's coming. And so having a knowledge of natural herbs and herbal remedies and home remedies is going to be really important. Um, Western medicine, I don't personally put a lot of stock in pharmacy, pharmakia, the pharmacist. I do in the older pharmacists. Like my grandmother, rest her soul. Um, when she was a pharmacist. She retired at like 74, 73, 74. She passed away at 75. Like that's how long she was a pharmacist. She went to WVU at 16 to get her degree. Like she graduated high school at 15 years old and went to college at 16 um, to be a pharmacist. And when she was a pharmacist, they would actually, at the local pharmacy, they would get the raw materials and they would make the pills, make the medicine themselves. They would get the herb of whatever kind of herb it was, and would have to they'll grind it down with a mortar and pestle and put it in the capsules and made their own pills, and made their own medicine. And that's when she first got into the game. That's what they did. Um, you didn't have any of these mass-produced over in China medicines. You didn't have any of that, but now you do. The pharmacy of her day, I would put faith in that, more faith in that than I do the pharmacy of now. Um, where I think Western medicine, modern Western medicine, really excels is things like surgeries, procedures in that regard. Um, you know, I can't chew this root and fix a torn rotator cuff by chewing on this root. Like it just ain't gonna happen. Um, Now, are there things that herbalism can do that will make me less likely, or not even herbalism, but holistic medicine or preventative medicine? Things like, just taking care of yourself. Those are things, things that there are things I can do to prevent the need for the rotator cuff surgery altogether. And I'm, just using that as an example. There are things that I can do that will prevent me needing that. But herbalism can't fix torn rotator cuff. Stuff like that. That's where Western medicine is a good thing, I think. But pills, pharmacy, I don't put much stock in it myself. I'm going to trust nature, what is growing out of the ground. I'm going to put a little more trust in that. The plant has no ulterior motives. It doesn't. Um, and I'm not knocking anybody who uses modern medicine at all. And I do to some degree use modern medicine. I take vitamins and I have taken pills and stuff before medicine, before antibiotics, things like that. I have. Um, well, like I said in the past, I do fear there's coming a day where you're not going to get into the hospital unless you've got that shot. And after they get everybody to get the shot, it'll be something else. You just watch. They get everybody to get this shot, and there will be something else. It'll be another shot, or you got to wear 15 masks, or I don't know what it will be, but there will be something, and you're not going to be able to get access, or it might be a mark on your hand or on your head. It might be a mark. You got to have this mark to get in to see the doctor. It's certainly a possibility. But I am looking into the herbs more, herbal remedies and such more. More along those lines, and a lot in my group actually are looking into that as well, taking classes and things like that, which is awesome, right? I mean, it's awesome because some of the people that I would consider to be in my group are not necessarily on board, but I'm not going to just abandon them. They have their skills, and they have value as people, and value to me. And so it's like I'm not just going to leave them behind it, but they're not necessarily on board with everything the way I think that they should. Whether I'm right or wrong is another discussion entirely. Um, but I mean that's my big thing is I mean I will tell you one of my herbal remedies here. Um, it's not entirely herbal, but um, sometimes, like if I've got a sore throat, cough, the whole 9 yards, which I tend to get, like I won't get sick usually. I will get a really bad cough in the winter sometimes, like just like I can't stop coughing. And probably the best thing that I found is um, I will make tea, and sometimes I'll make it with like pine nettles, which is awesome for a good vitamin C boost. Um, but I will make tea, either that or just whatever kind of tea, and then I will sweeten it with honey, and then pour in a little bit of alcohol, usually whiskey. Um, Although I have also discovered wild turkey American honey. And so, a lot of times, emergency services. I don't know if that was a ambulance or I just saw the flashy lights. But anyhow, um, now that I've gotten myself thoroughly derailed again. Wild turkey makes a what they call American honey, and it is a combination of a honey liqueur and wild turkey bourbon. So you get that honey and the alcohol all in one bottle, right? Now, how does that all work? Well, especially if you use the pine needles, that's a big vitamin C boost. It's very high in vitamin C. And it's actually one of around here in the wintertime, it's one of the few sources of vitamin C that can be found in the winter, naturally occurring. Your persimmons, you might be able to find some of them on. You can find them late in the year, and they have vitamin C. But all your fruits are going for. But they're one of the best sources of vitamin C around here in the winter. But anyway, so you get that. It's warm, so it helps clear any congestion that you got down there, as well as it helps soothe your throat, sore throat, stop the cough. The alcohol numbs your throat a little bit, and the honey puts a nice protective coating, along with all the good stuff that honey actually has. Now, whether there's actually that good stuff in the premix, wild turkey honey, that like whether that actually has any of the good stuff from the honey, I don't know. I don't claim. I don't know, but it has worked for me in the past. But honey does have a lot of good properties. A lot of antioxidants. It's really good for you. Okay. But that's one thing. Um, and again, I need to preface this. I should have said at the beginning, although I did earlier. But this isn't medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm not even a licensed herbalist or any kind of that. I'm just a guy that lives out in the hills and doesn't like going to doctors. So he has figured out and learned and studied up on ways to fix himself without having to go to a pharmacy or a doctor's office. Like, I have been, not counting chiropractors, um, I have been to a medical professional, like I said, excluding chiropractors. I've been to one of those 4 times. In the past 5.5 years. And one of those was for blood poisoning, uh, one was for a wreck, and one was, yeah, one was for a case of pink eye that I picked up somehow or another, not too long after I got home. So it was like I had all of these, and I only go when something's wrong. And It's like even back then, because and I've always been more of a home remedy guy. Um, Although the case of pink eye, I decided that I was just going to go to the little urgent care. Um, they're not an ER, but it's just like a a little quick care place or whatever. I had to go because I had pink eye. um, and no, I'm not recommending this, but the old timers will, when their cows get pink eye, they'll throw salt in their eye, and it kills the pink eye. It really, really would hurt. I mean, but it does work. And in the days before uh, modern, antibiotics, I mean, that's just what you did. And that actually is a good. It is a remedy for pink eye. Is to boil water, salt water, make a brine, and while it's boiling, put in cotton balls, and then you put the lay back and put these cotton balls when they get just cool enough for you to physically touch, and you put it like right by your nose on top of your eye and let the salt water kind of go into your eye. And it essentially does the same thing as old timers throwing salt in their cow's eyes to kill the pink eye. I mean, these are things that people need to know. So, I mean, pink eye is pretty nasty. I mean, there's all kinds of jokes about pink eye, this, conjunctivitis, it's just crap in your eye, right? um, uh, anal glaucoma, you got crap in your eye. um, there's all, people make jokes, but in a world without the ability to go to the doctor, like it could be a really serious thing. If you don't know how to take care of it, and that's one method. Um, and there's several others, but I'm not going to really get into right now. Namely because I've got them written down and I can't remember the exact details, and I'm not going to go hunt for my paper and potentially tell you misleading information if I can avoid it. Right? That's something I always try to be honest. I always try to be honest when I get on here. If I ever tell a lie, it's like it's not intentional. If I ever tell you something that's not true, it's not an intentional thing. Um, but well, folks, if you've been watching this, doesn't look like anyone's going to join in on the chat or anything. So, which I don't expect it. I just randomly hopped on here, and that's about all I do anymore. Is I hop on here and have a little chat. Um, go ahead if you want to. You can find me on BitChute, Rumble. I'm on Gab and Minds. Um, on Minds, let me double check. So I don't want to tell you a falsehood. Minds, I am Big Country 777. Yeah. Big Country 777 on mines, Big Country Survival on all the other ones, as well as Big Country Survival on the Podbean app. Anyone is interested in that. I'm a little more active on Podbean than anything else. Namely because I don't have to worry about setting up a camera. I can just hit record and I can talk. And I need to do some more videos. But at this point in the world, I just haven't. Things are getting they're a little screwy, okay? But things are screwy, but they're not here yet. Stinking tinnitus. Yeah, I reckon I'll get into some of the good things that have been going on here. And maybe someone will decide to join in as I'm leaving. Before I leave, I'll get into some of the good things that have been happening around here. The wife has agreed to getting wool sheep. We don't know when we're going to be able to make this happen, but she has agreed to it. Which that'll be cool. The reason for the wool sheep, we'll get into that. My wife knits, crochets, loom knits, the whole shebang, right? Makes hats and scarves and blankets and then socks and gloves and all of that. Fine stuff that you make with wool. She's pretty good at it. But so she makes all this stuff. And so I've got her, hey, what about getting wool sheep? And that way we can have our own source of wool. And she's on board with that. Now, she's not sold on the idea of butchering any of said sheep, especially probably after she's seen them as little ones, as ewes, or lambs, I mean. She probably will have a rough time with that. But this is something that she can get value out of, and us not having to eat our sheep to survive. So I'm happy about that. Now I don't know when this is going to happen. This has just been a recent discussion that she's like, you know what? Yeah, we can do that, and let's get it. And so I finally got her on board with it. Which the fact that we finally got on board, she finally got on board with the chickens is an amazing thing in and of itself. But my newest birds are just absolute little sweethearts. Like, I can pet these chickens. I've never had chickens that you could pet. I've never seen chickens that would let you pet them, and some of these do. It's absolutely insane. Some of my family, well, my wife's side of the family, that are decent and You know, they are actually moving a little bit closer. They got some property they might be building a house on, and all of that. So that's a good thing. Um, People that, like in my family have been into preparedness since before it was called preparedness. We didn't know that's what it should have been called because it was just called living life out in the country. You you grow a garden, you have chickens, have various other animals um, that you use for food or meat. Because I don't consider pigs to be food. Um, Nor does your Bible, if you read that. And if you read it and believe it to be true, your Bible doesn't believe that pork is food either, or pig. Eh, it doesn't. A different discussion for a different time, probably. But, that was just kind of always the way that we've been. My family's been living in the hills of West Virginia since before it was Virginia, or before it was West Virginia. It was still part of Virginia. And we've been in Virginia when Virginia was a British colony. We've been around here for a while. We've been back in these hills for a long time, and that's just what you did. You you did what you had to make ends meet. My great grandma, she always had white leghorn hens, kept them for 2 years, and then butchered them, got new ones. Um, she would always buy straight run, which is not, they've not been sexed. So you're going to get roosters and hens. All the roosters, she'd, let them get to size and then butcher them for food. And then she had her laying hens and she kept them for 2 years. And then it was time to trade out. And when the new ones started laying, she butchered the 2-year-old hens. And, she sold the eggs. She always had, she'd raise hogs and sell the meat off of them and also eat that. She had cows that she milked and she sold the milk. She had sheep and she'd get them shorn and sell the wool. They, the kids and, the boys, and especially, by the time my dad come around, grandkids, they'd always run a trap line in the winter and go trapping and sell the hides. Back then you could actually get something for the hides. Now it's not so much, but there is, you can still sell them, and I mean it's a hobby, I guess. Not really for me, but to each their own. Um, these are just all things that my family bloodline has done. Um, you know, my wife is very far removed from that side of her family. Like part of her family's like that, and part of it isn't. And the part that had the influence on her growing up was not that part. And so she's really been an awesome woman. And things have really, really been good. I mean, honestly, this pandemic crap has, for me, improved my life um, to some degree. I mean, there are things that I don't like, and there's some scary things, but it's woken up a lot of the people around me. Um, and and it's just me and my wife. Our marriage is a little better than it's ever been. I mean, it wasn't bad before, but since this pandemic, it's like it's been better than ever. I can't I can't complain. Um, but anyway, folks, those are some of the good things going on in my life. Y'all, I want to hear them in the comments below. Since nobody came on with the chat tonight, which is cool. We all got lives, man. I don't hardly ever make a live stream that I try and get to either. So that's cool. But um, the world's going crazy, but I'm here. I mean, there's a lot of good going on in my life, man. And I hope it's the same with you. Um, so I'm gonna get out of here, and y'all take her easy. I'm out. As soon as I can hit the end stream button. And now hit end.